Good morning. Today I'm going to give you a video tour of what is included in the Beginning Rhythm e-program. First we have the I've Got Rhythm game, and this was originally sold as Beginning Rhythm for preschoolers and came with these 12 cards. And what you do is you introduce your students to the quarter note, and you say ta, 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 and they get a chance to count it and clap it. And we use this time signature that's used in the Kodai and Orff methods, which shows, this is for 4/4 time, it shows that there are four beats in the measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that the quarter note gets the beat. And so that's a familiar theme for young kids. And then there are eighth notes. You'll hear my baby cry, but I promise he's happy. These are TTs, and so they would say this as TT, 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 TT. And there's the quarter rest, which works the same way. And you can then mix and match them, and once they're familiar with that, you introduce the half note. And the half note is a big note, but everybody's always forgetting that he gets 2 counts. So the quarter note comes along and thinks that he can be right here, and the half note says, I'm a big note, I have 2 counts, and the quarter note says, oh, sorry, and he moves over. And then the rest comes along, and he wants to be there too, and the half note says, no, I'm a big note. So finally the dash comes along and says, I can help you, I've always wanted to be on this board. But I can't because I'm not a note and I'm not a rest. And the half note says, oh, thank you so much for helping everybody remember how big I am. So then the eighth note comes along and say, oh, I go here. And you fill out the measure, and then you can do the rhythm solfege. Ta, ah, ti, ti. And so they learn the half note, and then it also has the dotted half note and the whole note. And if you wanted to, you could make these to be full size with a white poster board and then laminate them, and then they would be full size pieces. But this is easier for the printer, and it helps the students to remember to say ah after the ta, so ta, ah. So that's helpful. And then there's also individual eighth notes and eighth rests, so that you can teach your students to incorporate it that way, and they can learn that 2 TTs is the same as this, and sometimes they just want to be alone. So this would be T, 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 T. Another thing that you can do with these posters is teach other time signatures. We have the 2/4 and the 3/4, and this shows that there's 3 beats in the measure, and the quarter note gets the beat, and so we just cover up the last one, and then you can teach 3/4 in this manner, or 2/4, and you just cover that up. Or you can make another poster if you really wanted to. And the other thing that is new with this release is a board made for 6/8 time. And it comes with the dotted quarter note, which coincides, by the way, with these ones. They're the same size and they're the same ratio. So this shows that there are 2 beats in the measure, and that the dotted quarter note gets the beat. Now this is actually 6/8 time, but the kids can clearly see that there are 2 beats, and that the beat is divided into 3. So this is how 6/8 works. T, 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 T. And then the solfege for this one is tai, tai. And so it's getting a little bit more complicated than before, and we also have the dotted half note. And then, of course, you can use these pieces in the 2/4-1/2s to combine it, and you can do individual notes. Let me do it. But if you want, there's also the option. I've also made 18 optional or additional cards that if you wanted to, instead of doing ta-ti, you could actually just do 1 card that shows the beat. And so these cards here are completely optional, and they're in a separate file. And if you're a classroom teacher, then it might be nice for your students to be able to immediately put together a beat. But for home use, this might be enough. So there's options there. And that is the I've Got Rhythm game. The I've Got Rhythm poster board is also sized correctly to teach your students stick rhythm notation, as shown here. Individual rhythm cards. This program comes with 56 cards that are in 4/4 time that you can use as flashcards for your students. They can clap them. You can have a group of students stand in a circle and everyone has a card. And if I was holding this card, then I would have to remember that I'm holding ta, ta, ta. And I would just have to remember that. And other students would have another one. And if somebody said my rhythm, then I would look at somebody else's rhythm and say their rhythm. And if they recognized that I had said their rhythm, then they would in turn say the rhythm that somebody else is holding. If I said the rhythm correctly or they didn't recognize it, they would be out. And so that's kind of a fun game you can play with these. You can also select out the individual cards that correspond with the song you're trying to teach, and the kids can put it together like a puzzle and figure out where the rhythms go. Now, this is not all-inclusive. There are so many different combinations that you could make. So if there's a measure that you need and it's not here, please let me know and I will be happy to put it together for you because I have the program and that would be pretty easy for me. I'd be happy to do that for you. There are also 33 cards that are in 3/4 time, and they're pretty much the same deal. And there are 50 cards that are in 6/8 time. So you have these options, and one of the things that you can do with these cards is you can mix and match them. And say, for example, I have these two, and I might have a matching game. You can print out more copies of the time signature cards and have to match them. So which one does this go with? So this one has 2 beats in it, and I can see that beat, 1, 2, and this one has 3 beats in it, 1, 2, 3, and a lot of students have a hard time understanding the difference between 6/8 and 3/4 time, and so this is a way that you can reinforce that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with these cards. Now, if you gawk at the idea of printing out all of these cards, this is really good for very young children or for classroom use, but for studio use or personal home use, it might be nicer for you to print out the medium-sized cards, which are also available, and you can print the 4/4 ones with the number or without numbering. The numbering corresponds with the bingo cards and the I've Got Rhythm, so you might want the numbers, you might not, and both options are there for you. And there's also a small version, and you can print out all 56 of the 4/4 and 4 sheets, so that's a lot less printing. And those are the individual rhythm cards. For a non-printed version of the individual measures, if you have an iPad, you can open up the PDF on your iPad and do them like flashcards like this. Ta, 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 sh, and so on and so on. Rhythm bingo. The next portion of the beginning rhythm that I want to show you is the bingo game. And we have a reference sheet that has all of the cards numbered 1 through 56 that the person monitoring the bingo game can use. And then there are 15 individual cards that have the 4/4 cards in them, and they're numbered, and there's a few different things you can do with this. You can obviously play bingo, and here's the markers, and somebody says TT, TT, and I say, oh, that's this one, and I can put the bingo marker on it and go for bingo. The other thing that you can do with this is use it as a sight reading exercise, and I might just say, here, read this for me, or clap this rhythm, so I would go. And you can do it in canon, so you can have your student go, and then when they get to the second row, you can start on the first row and then do it like a duet, and that's kind of a fun thing to do. Or you could cover up a column like this and say, I'm going to say one of these rhythms, and you need to recognize which one I do. And the student says, oh, that was this one, and I say, very good, and we move on, and they can go for bingo that way. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with the bingo cards. And there are 15 in the master sheet, and that's the bingo. The final component of the beginning rhythm program is the nursery rhymes. And there are 8 nursery rhymes in 4 different meters that are taught in 3 different stages. For example, with Rain, Rain, Go Away, it's in 2/4 time, and you've got your time signature there. And you become familiar with it in the stage 1. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. They can clap it, they can say it, they can do a combination of the two. In stage 2, we have the rhythms lighted out, and so you can still see the rhythm, but there are these boxes around it. And you can use this as a consumable and have the kids use a pencil and practice writing their notes. They can also do it like a puzzle. There's cards that come with them. And so they can do it like a puzzle. Or if it's laminated, then they can actually use a dry erase marker or even a crayon and then erase it when they're done and use it again and again. And in the third stage, they don't have any help, they just have the boxes, and so they can, again, they can write, they can do the same things they did in stage 2, but they have to figure out what the rhythm is by themselves. Or it can be a copy exercise because they can use stage 1. And so that's what they have. In 2/4 time, the nursery rhymes are Rain, Rain, Go Away, and Mary Had a Little Lamb. In 3/4 time, we have America and Lavender Blue. In 4/4 time, we have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and Ring Around the Rosies. And in 6/8, we have Humpty Dumpty and Hickory Dickory Dock. And that is the nursery rhyme component of the beginning rhythm program. Thank you for watching.